Impulse Control by Myra Daring. Impulse control. Impulse control is one of the core competencies of emotional intelligence and is defined as the degree to which a person can control the need for immediate gratification. It may be the most significant indicator of a person's future success in the workplace or adaptation in society in terms of building and maintaining relationships with others. The impact of lack of impulse control in the workplace is generally significant, whether it is a one time occurrence or a pattern of behavior. When you act on an impulse that leads to a negative outcome, it can lead to a serious consequences that are life changing and a result in forming a negative reputation. On the other hand, when you have a positive outcome, it gets a different type of attention. It can look like you are brilliant and your reputation is elevated as a leader and a managed risk taker. The next slide just talks about what is impulse control. It talks about it being an emotional signal from our brain, which generates signals throughout our body. It tells us that something is deserving of attention, something needs to happen now. Then it talks about how people have high levels of emotional impulse control and how people have low levels of emotional impulse control. And just kind of discusses the consequences and implications of their decisions and actions. The next slide, just the slide on impulse control, is the ability to control your behaviors and feelings to accomplish a goal. And then this slide just talks about individuals with high levels of impulse, and it just discusses how people with high levels of impulse are often very effective at project planning and at getting the few things right that really need and deserve to be done right for the organization in order to allow it to operate as effectively as possible. It goes on and talks about high levels, individuals with high levels of impulse. They don't immediately think the more I talk, the more value I can add. Instead, they jump into other person's worlds and start from there, rather than expecting or demanding that their counterparts step into their world. They demonstrate real levels of empathy rather than sympathy and develop an understanding of what the other party actually requires for an encounter. Our next slide talks about individuals with low levels of impulse, and it just discusses how people with low levels of impulse control, they respond now. They need to do something now. They need to make a decision now. They flip from one thing to the other thing, doing little bits of everything rather than focusing on the few things that really matter and which can add real value. Low levels of impulse, they are controlled to flawed decisions, making both operational and personally. There can be real challenges with people failing to plan in advance or communicating to other people what they actually require in terms of performance, effectiveness, efficiency, and the achievement of goals and targets. This is just a slide. It says inhale, exhale, breathe. What does impulse control look like in the workplace? Well, as adults and business leaders, how we can improve our impulse control to engage better with team members and become more focused, productive, and creative. Research findings reveal leaders who can manage strong emotions when feeling stress or pressure while maintaining a healthy sense of humor are more successful in building stronger relationships, being creative, and meeting professional goals. Then we have another slide of impulse management. It says stop, gas, a long deep breath, think of options, and go with your best choice. Our next slide just talks about self-awareness and impulse control. It just discusses the more self-aware you become about your own emotional triggers and how you manage your impulse control, the greater the chance to avoid inappropriate outbursts and poor decisions. And then it goes on to talk about when you have a moment to look back at what you said or did, you have a better understanding of how you were triggered and how your emotions impacted the situation in a negative way. You may take appropriate steps to limit the damage. Our next slide just gives you some tools to improve emotional impulse. It talks about, like in the previous slides, just stop and breathe before you react to a situation or send an email. Leave 10 minutes earlier to the appointment to give yourself a buffer and practice mindfulness if you arrive early. Avoid overpromising and under-delivering and practice present moment thinking. And then our next slide talks about practicing impulse control in the workplace. It just says a few of them are: leave feelings and emotions behind if the problem is about projects, snags, or timelines. Do not play the blame game. Follow the chain of command. Be professional, not personal. And then our next slide talks about things not to do in the workplace. So you don't want to express anger and frustration loudly, call people names, and go over your supervisor's head is a few. You don't want to use coworkers to spread gossip. And then we have some things to remember. And just as remember that there is a huge difference between venting feelings and emotions and communicating solutions to problems. We have all had coworkers who don't know the difference between the two, and they have either found themselves on their way out the door or remain stagnant in their positions for years on end. How we communicate and what we communicate has repercussions. And then in conclusions, you cannot change another person or situation, but you can manage how you choose to react or respond to a situation. You can take charge of your impulse control. As a result, you can choose to play big and achieve more happiness, engagement, and success in your personal and professional life. And then in our inside is just the references. And that's